It's the 2nd of July in 2014, and I haven't really been sure how to go about doing this. I'm not sure in the context of the mediums today and the context of something like this. I'm not really sure what's respectful. I owe a few words to a young man that I grew up with in my neighborhood. In this neighborhood in Boulder, Colorado in the 1970s, there were a lot of older persons in the neighborhood. Sorry, I had to plug in. How about that? And there weren't many kids. And this young man lived with his father from New York. His dad worked in tech, computers, storage tech, and at Rocky Flats. I can't say that the man was a very soft man, very sensitive man. But his son was a good kid, and he was a good friend of mine. Really into junior high. We grew up a few blocks from one another. He was a week or two older than me. His mom lived in Long Island, though he never talked about her, never talked about his life there. And I didn't have a father. I had one parent, he had one parent, and so we kind of helped each other figure things out. It was, I suspect, like most of you have had, a friend in the neighborhood that you grew up with. I had an injury earlier in my high school career, which kind of threw me out of favor with a lot of my contemporaries. And it was about the same time that this young man went back to spend the summer with his mom, if I remember correctly. And it was I believe it was the year going into high school, because he came back and he was so bulked up and his temperament was so different. And I knew this kid. I mean, I had grown up with him. And I know he just wanted to fit in. We just, we're those weirdos. Not nerds, but not artists, but not cool, but not athletes, but not, and all of those at the same time, What was his option? In Boulder, Colorado, in the late 80s. It's one thing to be a cast member in the Breakfast Club, right? But just so many people were just lost, were just left alone. On Pearl Street Mall one night, I remember seeing him sitting at a storefront, and later I hear that he punched through that window and just sat there waiting for the cops. Thought I saw him at a deli once when I was meeting another friend there, but I don't really know if it was him or not. Especially recently, I've had reason to kind of reflect back on my friends, my relationships, my life growing up, lessons. I don't have a lot of people around me who knew me then. I don't have a lot of people around me who know me now. But Douglas Federock was an important part of my life. A couple years ago, I became a little more interested in just inquiring. I've had to say goodbye to so many people. And just, just go move on. So I tapped his name into the search engine, and there comes up a news article from 2008 in March where he's one of those guys where the neighbors call strange. He apparently took a couple shots at people driving by and then had a brief standoff with cops. And in this town in Colorado, took his own life. The article notes, the article notes that that's also how his father took his life. His father had cancer, had been struggling with cancer. Working in the places that he did, the hours that he had to. I was hanging out with his son, I know. And what real option? The article notes that Doug at one point talked about those rotten people in Boulder. Well, there's a lot of people who belong in Boulder that have been treated really rotten. I don't justify, I don't know anything about. I suspect he got into steroids and it changed his behavior. It said he had a time in the military. Who knows what trauma is happening from the variety of experiences that are happening in the military in the last 20 years. I can't speak to those. I can't forgive any of those. But like one person in the article, it says when she learned about his death, she was relieved. I suppose if you're ending suffering, that's one thing. But I don't know that that's what she meant. And I don't want to change her experience. I don't know the Doug that she knew. But for a last line, for the Doug that I knew, for the last line to be that he was an odd cookie, and that's it, that's just not right by me, I haven't known how to I have no idea if there's anybody on this planet that gives a rat's ass about this person. I have no idea. I don't necessarily want to know, but the pool of morality, it seems only fair that I at least contribute something to my side of the story. Because Doug Federock was a good kid. And his dad didn't know what to do. I get it. I grew up in the neighborhood. I talked to his dad. Saw him as he was first discovering cancer and as he was recovering through one of the first bits. And he talked to me about how worried he was about Doug. Just wasn't right to not get it out there. Not for anybody to watch it. Not for anybody who knows him to contact it and to go, oh, noted. All right. Santa's list is checked, you know? Like, it's nothing like that. But I had to give those boys a chance, you know? Because they worked hard to take care of each other in that neighborhood and in that town. Climbing all over those mountains. Coming up with all the plans and the forts and all the caves and I knew the kid who gave up his bus seats for other people, you know? I knew the kid who fought for the underdog. And that's not the person that they talk about in that article. I can't speak to what I don't know. But fucking A, I gotta speak to what I do, you know? Man, do we all make mistakes? And don't we all deserve a chance for a fair accounting? Whatever you think about the pearly gates, man. For whatever reason, we're acknowledging this reality now. So fucking do something about it. I know my tone sounds so accusatory towards people. But man, it's hard to do. And I do not extend that statement to anybody beyond my own mirror. So, could have just said this. I have said this quietly to my trees here, my friends here. But it needed legs in some way. Of course I know I'm doing this because I feel like I need the same thing. But that's not... I can only control what I do, you know? Events happen. But it doesn't necessarily mean that odd cookie goes on the headstone, you know? Well, very many blessings to you all. And onwards, further in the adventure. You like that? That's my sail structure that finally came down in the wind and the rain. Bye-bye.